Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. I wanted to make a video about probably one of the biggest films in a long time, being hailed as one of the best, if not the best Marvel film in recent history. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, obviously starring Zendaya, Tom Holland, William Dafoe, Alfred Molina, and the list goes on, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. There's been a lot of talk about this Spider-Man film. This has been a film that a lot of people have waited for. A film that many people thought we would never see. We would never thought we would see the likes of Andrew and Tobey come back to play the roles of Spider-Man franchises that were long gone, especially Maguire's franchise. So let's talk about this Spider-Man No Way Home. Pretty much the basic plot of it is, I will say, there are several trailers out there that are very spoilerish. This is one of those films that if you're trying to avoid spoilers online, I would stay off places like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere online pretty much. Go to the Stone Age as far as the internet, because this is one of those ones that's very hard to avoid spoilers. But if you can, do your best to. That way you can go into the movie blindly and just, watch it for what it is. But it's pretty much about Tom Holland kind of screws things up for himself, and his couple of friends that he has, Ned and then MJ, he wants them to go to college, so he does kind of like this reversal spell and ends up screwing up things in the process and brings up all these people into the multiverse that includes the Spider-Man, both Spider-Mans, and includes several villains that we've seen in previous films, and that's pretty much the main plot of that. Now, what did I think of the most recent Spider-Man film, No Way Home? This is a fantastic film. This is one of those films that it's, been a while since we've had, I like all the Marvel films, but it's been a while since we've had a Marvel film that has been, of course, this good. What we have here is probably one of the best things about it is William Dafoe's, character of the Green Goblin, or Harry Osborn, or Norman Osborn, should I say. Just a great character. Anytime he's on the screen, anytime he's talking, the way he switches from kind of the good guy persona, the old man persona, to the darker side of the Goblin. Anytime he switches personas, it's just done in a fantastic way. It's really, maybe you kind of like miss and makes you want to, if you're like me and you haven't seen the older Spider-Man films in a while, it makes you want to go back and revisit Maguire's, Spider-Man films and see, be able to revisit his character, because he's probably one of the best villains in the entire saga. And his villain, the way he plays his villain is just so much different than the other villains. He feels much more important, I guess you could say. Alfred Molina is another great one, as he plays, Dr., Otto Octavius. He's more of kind of like the sympathetic one, the one that kind of, once his tentacles are cured, major spoilers coming up, he starts to see, starts to reason with Spider-Man and see that maybe Tom Holland's Spider-Man does have the villain's best interest in heart. And that's what's kind of cool about this, is it shows these villains in a different light. It shows villains that we never thought we would see again. And by the end of the film, even though all these villains were once dead in their previous franchises, now, because of what Tom Holland did, they're different people now. They're not dead anymore. So it really opens things up to a new universe. I'm really curious to see if this is a one-off for a lot of these characters, or if we're somehow going to see, Sandman and the Lizard, if we're somehow going to see all these people again. And that includes Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I know in the theater that I went and watched it at, people went nuts when Andrew Garfield came on the screen. They clapped, they were standing up. And then when Tobey Maguire came on the screen, same thing again. People were going crazy, because these are people, like I said earlier, that we never thought we would see again. It gave us some very nice and added closure to the franchise. We never got to see Andrew Garfield in an Amazing Spider-Man 3. We were supposed to have certain villains and stuff like that, and we never got to see him. Same thing with, Tobey. These were franchises that they thought they were going to make sequels, but they never did. And here we are, a decade or so later from Maguire's film, longer than a decade now. And finally we have some nice closure to the franchise. So that's just a really neat thing, knowing that, we finally get what we wanted to see, and we have, a reunite, being not really being reunited, because they never met, but being able to pull all three of these Spider-Mans into the universe, and they each have their own way of swinging. Their suits just look a little bit different than each other, pulling all these villains together. It's just really neat seeing the way they work together. Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch playing that character, always does a great job letting Tom Holland's Spider-Man know that when you start to mess with the realms and the different dimensions of the multiverse of the universe, when you start to mess with all these things, it's definitely going to have some consequences. There's several funny or comical or humorous moments as well. There's some great segments out there. Some great fighting scenes towards the end when all the three Spider-Mans are swinging around, taking out Jamie Foxx and the Sandman. There's some really cool fighting sequences. And I like at the end how it brings Spider-Man back to what he always was. He doesn't have Stark behind him, doesn't have Iron Man behind him. He's just a guy with some spider web powers, and he doesn't have all the technology behind him. So now it's going to be interesting to see, since once again no one knows that he's Spider-Man. Not only do MJ and Ned not know, but the Avengers don't know either. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays into the world. I believe Tom Holland has already signed on for another 3 Spider-Man movies. Our next film, it also shows, spoilers coming up again, it shows Tom Hardy and the Venom. So I'm curious to see how Tom Hardy will play into the universe and the Venom, and if it'll actually be Tom Hardy's Venom, playing the villain role against Spider-Man, or if it'll be just part of that symbiote suit attaches to somebody else, and then that becomes our Venom. I think it would be kind of neat to actually see Tom Hardy play the villain, but I guess we'll see where that goes, right? The next film in the Marvel Universe is, of course, Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange and the Mouth of Madness, that I believe will come out sometime in the year of 2022, here in a couple of months or so. That'll be a cool one to see. Sam Raimi's coming back to direct. He directed the original 3 Spider-Man movies, if you guys didn't know. And his movies always had a different feel to them. They had a kind of a cool, in-your-face feel to them, almost, horror elements at times, similar to what you see back in the days of Evil Dead and stuff like that. So it's really neat to see him come back and direct this superhero movie franchise. So once again, that's my review of the movie by the name of Spider-Man No Way Home. Make sure to check it out. It's already made, in its first 2 weeks of release, it's already made, over $1 billion, which is crazy because people thought the theaters were dead because of COVID and stuff like that. But here you go, a movie that just takes the world by storm, and it's Spider-Man. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right, when you bring all these actors and characters together? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe below, and thanks for watching.